The troops of the expedition were composed of young Marseillais conscripts, ill-disciplined, and carrying with them into the service the agitation of the clubs. Those young men had communicated to the whole of the crew the desire of political discussion, and in every ship of war they had established a popular society. Thus, notwithstanding their courage, these troops tried the patience of the admiral, and their insubordination caused the failure of the expedition to Sardinia. No sooner were we announced than the popular society of the admiral's vessel assembled in the grand hall of council for a public sitting. I made a speech, and the president gave me the fraternal embrace and invited us to the honors of the sitting. This president was steward of the ship, and he harangued us for about half an hour in a manner that it was with difficulty we could preserve our gravity. I remember that he began with a voice alternately deep or piercing, and with the gestures of a maniac. The more I see that patriotism gains everywhere. The more I see that the brave sans-culottes are irresistible. The more I see. And he continued thus to repeat his, the more I see, at least 20 times, to the great amusement of his comrades and the sailors. As for us, he recalled to our minds the comedy of Les Plaideurs. When I see the sun, and when I see the moon, etc. The officers of the Marines who were present at our reception had, like us, the merit of not laughing aloud. We announced on our part a public sitting for the next day destined to fraternize with the club of the admiral's vessel, and we departed amid the patriotic acclamations. This solemnity did not greatly edify our islanders, accustomed to let our chiefs speak, and those who distinguished themselves by their talents. We remarked the silence of the officers, the confusion of that clamorous multitude, and we inquired of each other if all the popular societies upon the continent were conducted in the same manner. We prepared without delay to show them our superiority the next day, and certainly it was not a very difficult affair if the Marseillais, previous to our sitting, had not been desirous of showing us that their actions surpassed even their eloquence. I was occupied at my desk in preparing a speech that I was to pronounce in the course of a few hours, when I thought I heard a distant tumult. But soon it became more distinct than the noise of the shutting of doors. Every moment was overpowered by the cries of "Sirrah, Sirrah, shut your doors, shut your doors!" The tocsin called everybody to arms. A troop of our friends were running to the house as I went out of it. We marched towards the principal place whence the noise proceeded. The streets were filled with armed men. Near the gates of the town, a woman with disheveled hair was screaming, "The Jacobins are assassinating my husband!" She was a Corsican married to a Frenchman who, having filled a post in the administration, was known for his aristocratic principles. It happened, unfortunately, that he was walking on the pier when the Marseillaise landed, and he was pointed out as an aristocrat. Instantly cries of "The aristocrats to the lantern!" resounded throughout the multitude that had landed. But that cry, to which the Marseillais were accustomed, intoxicated by their demagogic fanaticism, that cry of tigers, far from finding an echo amid the good citizens of Ajaccio, excited only their indignation and their horror, and they armed themselves in crowds to defend the victim. When I arrived upon the place, it was covered by the whole population, thoroughly determined not to suffer our walls to be dishonored by so cowardly a crime. The officers of the squadron had recalled all the Marseillais. Seconded by our efforts, they succeeded in hurrying them on board their vessel. They appeared no more on land, and certainly we had lost all desire to fraternize with them. The fleet set sail a few days after. This attempt at political assassination made a profound impression upon my countrymen. In our popular societies, they had often denounced the anti-patriotic conversations of the agents of the ancient government. They regretted without doubt their lost places, But their yoke had tired us, and we beheld them with an evil eye. Their long habit of commanding had not taught them to be prudent, but it had never entered into the head of any islander to kill a man without a motive of personal vengeance, and only because he had been powerful, or that his sentiments differed from ours. To put an end at once to all the embarrassment which these men from the continent gave us, and who had so long oppressed us, and who had not learned to be silent, we resolved to send them out of the island. A vessel was prepared, and they made them embark altogether. You are not born among us, they were told, and although we are become French, we cannot look upon those as our fellow citizens who are the agents of a tyranny that has so long weighed us down. We have saved one of you. We have prevented violence against you, but your presence and your dangerous discourses annoy us. We will have nothing further to do with you. Go home to your own country and leave us in peace. This sentiment was unanimous. The men of the ancient regime departed, but in a short time we regretted their departure. We learned too soon that upon their arrival on the continent they had been all sacrificed by those of their countrymen who tried and executed them in the streets. Upon the revolutionary lanterns, certainly not one among them was culpable. And had it not been for the unfortunate attempt of the troops of the expedition of the fleet, those unfortunate beings, to the number I believe of 8 or 10, would have been terminated their days in peace among us.